Well, here's another day of David rambling. So, what is on my mind today? And it is a four-letter word, five-letter word. It depends if it's singular or plural. And that word is leads. I have a sales organization. Figure a lot of people that follow me probably have something to do with sales, mostly probably insurance agents. But today's message is going to be for anybody that wants to sell anything. And hopefully by the end of this message, you'll understand a little bit more about how to be more successful at sales, right? And the easiest, simplest hack to be more successful at sales. And it sounds like this super, it's gonna be like, Dave, I knew this, right? I knew this, right? So many times I deal with people and they're just like, I know this, I know this, I know this, I know. And I see so much knowledge. I see like this, I know knowledge, but I don't see like action behind it, right? And it's huge. And it's not just salespeople, it's everyday people, right? People, they want these results. Maybe they're starting to work on longevity and they're like, man, and they find, this special compound that's, expensive and you get it from a doctor and to help with their longevity. But like ultimately, you ask me about it, I'm gonna be like, all right, cool, let's talk about the basics. What are you putting in your body on a daily basis and how are you sleeping? Because those two things right there are gonna be better than anything you get from a doctor. If you're putting junk in your food, in your body as food, and you're not sleeping well, you're staying up late, and you're not getting the proper sleep, well, that right there will affect you more than anything else, right? So same thing with sales, being successful, entrepreneurship. Again, people are looking for like these magic courses, classes, coaching, all these things, when realistically, there's a really simple formula to be successful in sales or as an entrepreneur, right? If you are an entrepreneur, you're in sales, right? I don't care what business you have, you probably need a service or a product that you need to sell. So what's the easiest way to sell this service or product? So I was on the phone with our marketing director yesterday, and we're just talking about some different things we're doing. We actually just invested in a new product that will make our leads even better than they are now, right? Because I know the person with the highest quality leads is the person that wins, right? Because that's the person that has the most successful salespeople. So, as a matter of fact, if you don't know, I did start a Skool group, Skool/insurance. It's $9 a month. You get a free 7-day trial. But if you ever want to go there, it's Skool/insurance. We're just getting the group going now. I put a mindset course in there for you. I think that mindset course will be very beneficial. I think that right there will make you the $9 a month to cover the course. Why did I charge $9 a month instead of making it free? Well, one thing I've definitely noticed is I give out a ton of free information and people don't always use the free information. So maybe if I put a charge to it, people will take it more serious and use it. Because ultimately, I don't give out free information because I like talking. I actually don't enjoy talking at all. I like to be quiet. I like quiet time. I'm an introvert. But however, I want to help people. I want to help people succeed at a high level. So the more information I give out, hopefully some people grab a hold of it and they succeed. So, all right, back to the magic secret hack on how to be successful in sales. And this is something super important, right? This is something that's been going on long before I've been born, probably before anyone watching this has been born. But it is finding somebody that's interested in the product or service that you want to sell and figuring out how to get that person's information. Think about that. So let's just say I sell vacuums for a living. Well, obviously anyone can use a vacuum. I'm sure everyone has a vacuum in their home. So I know that, but it doesn't mean everyone's in the market to buy a vacuum, right? So what do? There's a couple ways to do this. What they did I'm sure they probably still do this, but what happened quite a bit before the digital age is you would have to go door to door on people's houses and knock and introduce yourself, do a presentation, whatever you had to do, and try to sell them a vacuum. People made a living like this. You sold vacuums. Why? Because if you knocked on enough doors, you're just going to trip over somebody that was actually in the market for a vacuum, or they're not happy with their current vacuum, right? I mean, I remember, when I used to buy the $60 vacuum, that thing, it only lasted so long, right? So most people's vacuum probably don't last that long. It's not until you start investing $300, $400, $500 in a vacuum that they actually last. So I learned that years ago. So I just started buying more expensive vacuums, and they actually last forever versus the $60 one that lasts 60 days. So that was how you would sell something, right? So also insurance, right? A lot of cold door knocking, door to door. Salespeople would go door to door and they would sell insurance. Same thing, right? You're knocking on someone's door. There's people that live in that place. The people that live in that place are going to die one day. They're going to die one day. They're going to have a funeral. If they're going to have a funeral, then someone's going to have to pay for their insurance, or someone's going to have to pay for the funeral. The person that's going to have to pay for the funeral is probably someone really close to them. They probably don't want to leave them with that burden. So it's your job to do a presentation, remind them of that, and help them take care of that right there and then, right? So again, you're walking around door to door, and you're trying to do that. Well, at a certain point, somebody's like, well, listen, it's really cool, like going around all day and knocking on doors, but there's time involved, right? I would have to knock on 50 doors before I find one person interested, right? And it take me all day long before I find someone interested. And that's a tougher way to make a living, right? You want to have some kind of leverage. So I know one of the earlier ways to sell something was direct mail. People still use it today. It's just a lot more expensive today. People don't really, a lot of things. Think about like back in the 80s, 90s, right? You used to get a lot of junk mail in the mail. You don't really get that much anymore. At least I don't. Maybe I unsubscribe from it, but I don't believe you're getting that anymore. But you get all these advertisements, right? The grocery store showing you deals, all these different advertisements of them trying to get you to get them into their store, right? What they're trying to do, they're trying to get people interested in buying the products they have into their store. Now, you get these things in the mail, right, for these different things. Like, you have to remember, like, it costs them money. They had to print that. They had to think about it. They had to have, marketers put it together. They didn't just wing it. I'm sure there's a very great system on how they did that. It probably cost them a ton of money to do it. But they realized, if I do all this, it's going to get X amount of people in the store, X amount of people are going to buy. So yes, it costs them money, but then there's extra money over, and that's my profit. So it makes sense to market, right? So same with direct mail. Direct mail, you print this stuff up, you send it to all the houses. People fill out that they're interested in insurance. They mail it back. You get that, and then again, you make a sale. And typically a direct mail piece these days costs about $40 for final expense. And I don't sell direct mail, so I'm not real in tune to it, but from talking to other people, $40 seems about what direct mail is. And then mortgage protection, much, much higher, right? Because now you're dealing with a smaller demographic, especially now. There's not a lot of people buying houses, so you have a lot less data to deal with, right? But ultimately what you're doing is you're paying for somebody interested. Instead of knocking on doors all day long, you're paying for somebody interested in insurance. Well, COVID happened 2020. Before that, we were a huge direct mail agency. We used a ton of direct mail. Our agents were getting 40, 50 direct mail pieces every single week. And we were selling a ton, right? It was a really simple system. You pay for the leads, you make the sales, the commission covers the leads, and the money left over you keep. And typically, if you did your job, there was always a big gap in that and a lot of money that you can be paid. So again, you're dealing with people that are interested in insurance. Now, we get to the magic part with that, right? Because there is an art working leads, because somebody is watching this and they'll say this exact thing. I got leads before and they didn't work, right? Think about that. If that's you thinking that, let's talk about that for a minute. I got leads before and they didn't work. Well, why do they work for one person and they don't work for the other person? What's the difference? People say, well, the leads I got weren't good, right? The leads they got were better. Okay. All right, we'll get back to that. Then the next thing is, and we're gonna go over all those things towards the end of this, right? The next thing people will say that I hate when they say is, I burnt through all the leads, right? I don't know how you burn through leads, but we'll talk about those two things after I talk about the progression of leads and how we do them. So 2020, we decided to go to the phone, and the thing with direct mail is you mail out direct mail, they mail it back, and a lot of times they might not put their phone number on it, right? So if you're buying that lead without a phone number, you can't call them, then obviously it's not really good for working on the phone. So that's when the digital age to me became really important, and learning how to create leads. Well, when you create leads digitally, there's so many variances on how you can do it. And it makes such a big difference in the quality of that lead. So, for example, when you send something in the mail, they got to fill it out, they got to put it back in the mailbox, right? So there's some things involved with that. Now it does take longer to get it, does take longer to create that lead. So there's some negatives in that as well. Well, what I've seen in the digital world is, a lot of times what marketers are trying to do is they're trying to make the most amount of money as they can per lead, because that's their job, right? To sell leads. And a lot of times people are short-sighted. Like for me, I'm all about the long-term vision. I want to keep agents happy, and I want people to keep buying leads. And the only reason they would keep buying leads from me is if they're having success with them, right? So it's super important for an agent to have success with the last set of leads they got. If not, you're just churning a lot, and luckily that's not the case for us right now, but we could always improve, and we're looking to improve. And a lot of it has more to do with mindset, which we'll go over that as well. But let's get back into digital leads. So what people would do is they would throw some kind of banner up, right? You've seen this before on the side, some kind of banner, and it'd be like, win a free cruise. And you fill out that information, right? Win a free cruise. And then in that information, it might have a little checkbox. And the checkbox is like, check this box for a free life insurance quote. Or maybe that box comes pre-checked, right? Well, you get that information as an agent, no, that person doesn't want to freaking talk to you. They were trying to win a free cruise. And for me, if I see a free cruise thing on the internet pop up, I'm not clicking that. I'm like, dude, I don't want to win a free cruise. Nothing's free. There's something wrong here. I'm not getting involved. I don't want that. Whatever that is, I don't want it. So the person that clicks that isn't the person I want to talk to, because it's not like me. They're not thinking logically. They're looking for free stuff, and I don't even want to pay to go on a cruise, no less go on a free cruise. What would a free cruise look like, right? I don't even want to pay to be on a cruise. I like being on a resort. If anything, I like to be able to leave. I like my privacy. I don't want to be, with thousands and thousands of people stuck in a place. I don't want to be marched off a boat and marched on a boat. I don't. Now, full disclaimer, I've never been on a cruise, so maybe I'm picturing it wrong. So if you're a cruiser, feel free to use the comments. Get me straight on that. Not a big deal. All right, so let's talk about leads. All right, so now we got the free cruise leads. Then let's go a step above that, right? You could make a lead, and you can use something along the lines of free state regulated insurance, or different things that makes that look free. So again, you're like, well, I'm interested in insurance, and it looks like this guy's got free government insurance, right? The government's got all kinds of programs, so I'm going to click this, right? Click this, I put my information in, looking for free insurance. Now, that's a step up from the free cruise data entry situation thing going on there, but the person's looking for free. Now, if you're a good agent, there's something super important there. They're interested in insurance, whether it's free or not. They're interested in insurance, so that is a plus. Again, not a lead I would create, not a lead I would give my agents, not a lead I would suggest agents to work. Because for me, what I noticed is when I went from making $60,000, $70,000 a year to, let's just say $60,000, $70,000 a month, there's a mindset change in there. right? To go from 60 grand a year to 60 grand a month, there's a major mindset change. And this mindset change is super important. It's called respecting your time. So what does that have to do with leads? Yes, you can create a lower cost lead if you're giving away free cruise or if you're making it look up here real, but you have to go through a lot more people to find that sale, which means you're using a lot more time. So I'd rather spend more money, have an increased intent lead, and then from there, I use less time, make more sales, right? Because ultimately, it's about finding that perfect price point where if you pay this price point, the cost to acquire the client is the correct price point, and you could do as many of those as possible, and you're winning. So the next step is so we did the cruise lead, right? Then we did the bait and switch free lead. Then there's the life insurance lead, right? There's the basic life insurance lead, but with the very simple form. Just asking very basic information right there on Facebook, and you put that information in. A lot of times they're pre-populated, right? Matter of fact, I think they're all pretty much pre-populated, because even if Facebook doesn't pre-populate it, your Google browser will pre-populate it, right? So, I know for me, if Facebook's pre-populating, it's putting bad information. It's putting the information when I started my Facebook. Who has the same phone number, lives in the same place when they started Facebook? Probably not too many people. So for me, the Facebook lead form, not great, right? Because it's got that old information in there. A lot of times people are like, all right, cool. They're clicking this and hoping that they're just getting information back. They don't want to call. They don't want anyone coming to their house, right? So they don't care if that information's wrong. They just saw the first little creative. Creative is, maybe a picture of a casket, people at a funeral, something about get a free life insurance quote. They went through there. Again, super simple. Now, they're interested in insurance, but a lot of times you're gonna get a lot more bad information through there. So what's the next step? The next step is you require more information, right? So you show them something about life insurance, if they wanna get a free quote, and then you make them put in more pieces of information, because I'm sure if you're watching this, let me know, but I'm sure there's something you had some type of interest with online, but not a huge. And when it started asking you more and more questions, you just stopped. You stopped, right? So that's how our leads are designed. Our leads is if you don't have a full interest, we're gonna keep asking questions to eliminate you. And I think that's super important to help protect the agent's time and help them be successful. So, and there's some other proprietary things we do our leads. We actually just invested in a new software that's super expensive, but it's going to help us make even higher quality leads, and we're going to get that thing tweaked with AI, which is super amazing. Now, let's go to the learning phase of this. All right, so leads didn't work for me. I wasted money on leads. Those leads were no good. I burned through those leads. So let me ask you this. If you jumped on a plane right now and flew to China, got off that plane, walked in the store, and you went to buy something, and you went to communicate with the person there, and all they spoke was Chinese, and you didn't speak Chinese, and you couldn't communicate, would you be surprised? No, probably not. Would you be frustrated and go back home? No, probably not. Would you keep trying and figuring it out? Yes, probably so, right? But the biggest thing is you would have the realization that you don't speak Chinese, and you're not going to learn how to speak Chinese in a little 3-week trip in China. Not going to happen. So what does that mean? Why am I bringing that up? You need to learn to work leads. You need to learn how to communicate with people. See, that's the thing. People assume they know how to work leads. They want a lead to be somebody sitting there with their checkbook in their hand ready to buy. It is almost impossible to create that type of lead, because people tend to give you objections even when they're not real, just out of reflex, right? So when you call this person up, they might want insurance. Guys, there's times I've walked into a store, think about this. Have you ever walked into a store planning on buying something, a salesperson walks up to you, says, "Can I help you?" You say, "I'm just looking." When you plan on buying something, you still gave them an objection. You have no idea why. That's what's happening with your leads that you work through, that you burnt up, that you don't know what to do with, right? So you need to treat this just like you're trying to learn another language. Like you need to learn how to communicate with these people. You need to learn how to help these people. You need how to keep the conversation flowing and how to keep them on the phone. You're not going to learn that in a batch of 10 leads or a batch of 100 leads. Heck, you ain't going to probably learn that proficiently in 1,000 leads. But when you do learn how to work leads, you are going to sell more product and services, right? The hack is leads. Leads. What is a lead? Lead is a person interested in buying your product or service. If you're selling a product or service, how would you sell more of a product or service? Finding the people interested in that product or service. There's no secret. It's super, super basic. Well, they weren't interested when I talked to them. Well, they're interested before you talk to them. So what does that mean? If they're interested before you talk to them, then when you talk to them, they weren't interested. Was it the lead? Was it them? Or was it you? 99.9% of the time, it was you. Yes, there are some crazy people that just click on things because they want someone to talk to. But 99% of the time, it's 100% your fault that you weren't able to give them a full presentation. And that's fine. That's actually good when you realize that. Because when you realize that, then guess what? You have an opportunity to get better. See, for me, when I find out I've been doing something wrong, I get really excited because I'm like, man, what's it gonna look like when I figure out how to get this done right? So that is a super important thing to understand. So what does that mean? You need to learn how to properly work leads. When you learn how to properly work leads and you have a strong lead source, you can make as much money as you want. With the right comp plan, obviously, right? So super, super important with that. So the second thing I want to bring up is when somebody says, I burnt through all my leads. So how would you even define that? I burnt through all my leads. Like, what does that mean? Like you took your leads, you put them on paper, and then you threw them in the stove? Like, what would that mean when you say, I burnt through all my leads? And for someone to really think that's even a thing. So, you know, oh, I called all my leads, they're all exhausted, my leads didn't work, I haven't talked to anyone. Like, oh, guys, if you have a legitimate lead source, which I would hope that you do, right? I gotta assume that part, and not all the lead sources are legitimate. And how do you find a legitimate lead source? Find somebody having success, which good leads, and reach out to them and figure out how you can plug into their lead system. Real simple. You know, the thing is, a lead is a person. So let's just say I go online, I see an ad looking to get financing for a mortgage. I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm in the market, trying to buy an apartment building right now. Trying to buy a new apartment right now, and as a primary residence, and I'm going to need a loan. Let me shop some rates. Let me figure out, right? So I go online, I put some information in. That information creates a lead. It gets shot over, maybe it gets shot over to 3 different mortgage brokers, right? Because it's not an exclusive lead. And that's a whole nother video on you know, exclusive leads versus non-exclusive leads. So you go in there, and then all of a sudden my phone rings, and I'm like, oh crap, I just put this stuff in line. I see a number, I'm like, all right, it looks like a 239 number. All right, I don't really get 239 number calls. So in the back of my head, I'm thinking like, that's gotta be the mortgage person. Don't feel like talking right now. I'm Facebooking right now. I'm stalking people's lives, right? You know, I'm trying to see what so-and-so, what's Miss Jones up to today? So I'm doing that, and I'm more worried about that, so I don't answer the phone, right? A couple hours later, I see that number again. Oh, it's the mortgage guy. I don't feel like talking to him now either. I'm about to go eat, you know. 7:30 comes. Oh, it's the mortgage guy. Hey, I go to sleep at 8 o'clock. I'm definitely not answering the phone for the mortgage guy. 7:30. I know it's the mortgage guy, right? Everyone knows when you have a new number calling your phone, and it's right after you fill out the form, you know who it is. Now, the mortgage guy that's calling me, if he said, oh, I burned through that lead because no one answered, does that make sense? I'm still looking to buy a place. I still need a mortgage. He just hasn't called me at a convenient time yet. There's no burn. Like it's not like I disappeared, right? Think about this. People say, for insurance leads, like, listen, as long as if the person's still alive and doesn't have a policy, that lead is still good. That lead is 100% still good. You haven't spoken to them yet. It's your job to call them at a convenient time. And it's happened plenty of times where the people would call me. I'm a busy person. I don't like answering the phone. But they'll catch me at the right time. Someone calls me right now, I'm not answering. They'll call me at the correct time. I see it, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Now I got time to talk to this mortgage dude. Hey, what's going on, mortgage guy? Yeah, I know who you are. I've been dodging your calls, but I'm ready for you now, right? So there's no burning through leads. When people tell me, oh yeah, I went through all those leads, my first question is, did you really speak to all of them already? And the answer is no. Well, why in your logical mind would you think you're done calling? Why? If I give you 100 bricks, I say, hey, there's a pile of bricks. I need to take all 100 of those bricks, put them in the backyard and make a pile. And you put 5 in the backyard and you say you're done. I'm like, dude, how are you done? Those bricks are still there. Yeah, but I just, I'm just done. Like, no, there's nothing done about that, right? When you have a lead, if that lead didn't get a presentation, there's nothing done about that lead. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. Nothing done about that lead. When you change your mindset about leads, then you'll start having success. So those are two things, two real key things. You're not done with a lead until it gets a presentation, right? Well, how often do you call your leads? Until it gets a presentation, right? If you're not sure how often to call leads, go online, go put pest control in, go create a lead, go put alarm systems in, go create a lead, look for mortgage rates, go create a lead, and watch how much your phone blows up. And then you'll see that is exactly how you should be calling people, right? That's how you should be calling people. What's the difference? Why are they calling so many and insurance agents aren't? Because most insurance agents aren't base salary, so they could do what they want. The alarm guy is base salary. The mortgage guy, base salary, right? They got some kind of base salary in there. So guess what? Their bosses tell them, you freaking call those, you sit in that desk and you call those leads. The insurance agent that works for themselves, their boss themselves isn't being a good boss. They're letting them do things that don't help their business. Think about that. So, 2 things. 1, be patient. Learn the art of working leads. 2, a lead is not done until it gets a presentation. Let's give 3 things. 3 things. When do you stop calling your leads? Never. You call them as much as you need to. You have 2 choices when you're trying to make sales. 1, reaching out to somebody looking for your product, or 2, not reaching out to somebody. If you're doing 2, then you need to do 1. Real simple. All right, guys, I hope you got something out of this. If you did, please share. Again, if you want to join my Skool group, going to be building this up, put some courses in there, probably do some periodic meetups, answer questions for you. $9 a month. I know for sure I could help you make an extra $9 a month to cover the costs. This is going to be my first paid community. We will raise the price to $19, maybe more. I don't know. After we have 100 members, we will raise the price. And probably continue to raise the price from there. So if you want to get into our first 100 at $9 a month, definitely suggest you do. I know for sure I will provide you the value on that. Cool. Well, I hope everyone's having a great day, and let's finish this year strong.